Hey guys, it's Donald here. In this video I'm going to be telling you my personal top 12 albums of 1967.
Anger, he smiles towering, shiny metallic purple armor, green jealousy waits behind him, her fiery green gown sneers at the grassy ground. Blue are the life-giving waters taken for granted, they quietly understand what's happened to first time is the opposite.
Now I'm kind of in a 1967 mood because I just really been thinking about it since the other day, and I think it was like the year that basically changed everything. I know 1966 had some really big albums that were different, but this was basically the year that like everything, all bands changed. Now this list is not really it's not a final list. I just felt like doing this. I actually don't have a whole lot of 67 albums. I basically almost grabbed all the ones I have just to make a list. There is a few in here and I didn't even really check 100% completely, so I don't really know how many I have, but I just picked 12 here. So feel free to make a video or comments. I don't have all the great ones, so this is just a list I feel like making. Alright, number 12, I did the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request. The reason I did this in the list, because it's a really interesting album, really different for the Rolling Stones. It's honestly not a completely perfect album, but it has its moments like Sing This All Together. I do not know how to pronounce the second track of the album, Cattle or something. It's like really like the hard rock feel on here. Of course has the song She's a Rainbow. So yeah. Alright, number 11 is I put the Beatles Magical Mystery Tour. Now this is not, the reason why I have it low, because it's personally not one of my favorites of the Beatles, but it's still a great album. It was originally an EP, but then it stuck some singles on here. Like, of course, Magical Mystery Tour, I'm the Walrus, Strawberry Fields Forever, Baby You're a Rich Man, All You Need Is Love. So it's just still a great album. It's just not really rock in my opinion. Alright, number 10, I have the Who Sellout. Now this is basically when the Who were really creative. They basically went psychedelic here. I can say it's a good album. It's like it's a concept album, like a parody of a radio station. It has snippets in here which are great. Some great songs on here is, of course, I Could See for Miles. Has the song Real. It's the last song on the album. Yeah, and some other ones, Tattoo, Our Love Was. Well, mine actually says on the record here, Our Love Was, comma, is. And I like the song I Can't Reach You. Alright, number 9, I have Jefferson Airplane, Surrealistic Pillow. Now, I don't have any other Jefferson Airplane albums. I really need to get more. But I really like this band. My friend's a big fan, so I got into them from him. So I played this album just recently, and it's actually pretty good. Obviously, the classics on here are White Rabbit and Somebody to Love. Another cool song on this album called Embryonic Journey is basically an instrumental. And fun fact, it was actually used for the final scene of the show Friends, which I think I heard the song off the show and then I realized it on this album. But the rest of the album is still pretty good. So, alright, number 8 is an underrated album, I feel, Winds of Change by The Animals. This is basically when Eric Burton went psychedelic and when he had his new lineup. But it's a good album. It has Winds of Change, Poem by the Sea, Hotel Hell, Anything. So this is a really good album. Anyone should check it out. I think it's one of the lost albums of 67. Alright, number 7 is The Doors' Strange Days. This is a really good follow-up to their debut. It's not perfect in my opinion, but it has some of the best Doors songs. Like it has Strange Days, Love Me Two Times, Unhappy Girl, Horses Latitude. It also, of course, has their 2 singles, Moonlight Drive and People Are Strange. It's actually a pretty good album, though, actually. I don't know why I said it, because I'm finding some really good ones on here. Of course, their 11-minute experimental track, When the Music's Over. Alright, number 6 is Our Experience by Jimi Hendrix Experience. This is like one of the best debut albums here. I like both versions, UK and US, but I have the US version. This is something else here, man. It's really good. Hendrix's guitar playing, Mitch's drums, you know, all their stuff's good. Purple Haze, Manic Depression, Hey Joe, Love Confusion, May This Be Love, Wind Cries Mary, Fire, Foxy Lady, of course, Our Experience. This is an album everyone should hear. Alright, number 5. I included the Rolling Stones' Flowers. This is a compilation, but this is probably the best compilation ever in my opinion. It's mainly recorded from 1965 to late 66, but it has a psychedelic feel and it was released in 67, so I wanted to include it. It has lots of great songs. Like, it even has their new songs that just came out at the time, which is Ruby Tuesday and Let's Spend the Night Together. But also has some of their other great songs around the time. Mother's Little Helper, Ever Seen Your Mother, Baby Standing in the Shadows. Yeah, this is one album I feel everyone should have for just having a Rolling Stones album. So definitely this is probably my favorite as of now. Alright, number 4. This album has to be one of the most underrated albums I ever heard. I love this album. Number 4 is the Grateful Dead's first album. Yeah, what can you say? This is basically, though, the Grateful Dead before they were their official sound, you could say. But I still love this album. I don't know why it's so bad. I think it's a perfect record here. It has its psychedelic moments, its rock and roll moments, its blues, some, well, you could say pop rock influence in there, like the Golden Road, Beat On Down the Line, Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, Cold Rain Snow, Sing on Top of the World, Morning Dew, Viva La Blues. This is a great album. I feel like everyone should at least give it a listen. Now myself, not a big Grateful Dead fan, but I really love their first album, so definitely essential. Alright, number 3, one of the best debut albums, The Doors, first album. Now this album being recorded in like August of 1966, it could have been released in the late 66, so that would have been exciting, released that time, but this was, I think, released the 1st or in the first week of January of 67. Yeah, this whole album is basically perfect. Jim Morrison, man. Bring On Through, Soul Kitchen, Crystal Ship, 20th Century Fox, Alabama Song, Light My Fire, Backdoor Man, I Look at You, End of the Night, Take It As It Comes, The End. Basically named the whole album here. It's really good. There's even some like weird things going on in here, but definitely a psychedelic classic by The Doors. Alright, number 2. This has to be one of my favorite albums of all time. This is an underrated album too, even though people like it, but I feel like it deserves more credit. Number 2 is the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Acts as Bold as Love. I feel like this album is Hendrix's best album. It has it's basically, most of it's what I consider his best songs he ever did. I used to just forget about this album a little bit, as of some people. And this was actually the first record I got by Jimi Hendrix. But like having CDs and other stuff, I didn't really get this album first, but you know, this is a good album. Like, the first song is really something different, EXP, which is basically like an interview, but it kind of has like a space alien type feel to it. It's really something there. Up in the Skies, Spanish Castle Magic, Wait Until Tomorrow, If 6 Was 9. I just feel like even the unknown songs on here are amazing ones. You've Got Me Floating, Castles May Stand, She's So Fine, Little Miss Lover, which is a nice hard rock song, and of course Bold as Love, just feels one of the best songs ever. It's just a really nice ballad, the anthem, the rock. Everyone has to play this album. I feel like you're missing out a lot if you haven't heard this album yet. And number one, what do you think I'm gonna say? It's of course possibly the best record ever recorded. The Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. If you like it or not, it has to be one of the best albums of all time. It is one of the most influenced records ever made. You just have to accept that. Now, I like this album. It's not my favorite, but you know, it's a pretty good album, so, you know, this whole record is basically a A+, you know. The Beatles, they've finally grown up, if some people think that. They're basically a different group, hence Sgt. Pepper. One of the first concept albums, it's basically like they're a Sgt. Pepper band and they're just doing a show, and that's basically what it is. Released in like June 1967, I'm sure. Yeah, this album, I don't know what to say. I played it a bunch of times. I can't say enough about it, you know. Of course, A Day in the Life, the Beatles have basically grown to their top peak with that track. I do think it's cool how it has basically two songs combined it into one, whereas Paul has his 2 minutes of glory lead singing in that. I think it's a really cool song. Of course, the opener, which when you first hear the record, you hear an audience, you know it's like a Beatles record that's not going to be the same once you play that. And of course, With Love from My Friends, Lucy Sky Diamonds, Getting Better, which was a lot of memories. Of course, Fixing a Hole has a lot of memories too. You know, this album could be for anyone, really. It seems like this song has its psychedelic crowd, and then there's some songs for little kids like Getting Better. Then there's songs like for more people who are more in the orchestra, they could like the song She's Leaving Home. And then for more of a crowd that likes more of the India tradition style music, they'll like Within You Without You by George. Need for the Benefit of Mr. Kind's a good Kite, which is a good song. You know, it has like its circus type of feel, which I sometimes think when I think about this album. When I'm 64, which is basically the earliest song on the album recorded in like December 66, which is kind of shocking to me because if you hear that song, kind of sounds like more a song that could have came out of the 40s. Somewhat of a jazz feel, something like that. Being the first one recorded out of the bunch, it just sounds something that the Beatles in 66, if you see them with their revolver style, with their haircuts and that, doesn't seem like something that kind of band would do, but I love Good Morning, and I love the reprise version of Sgt. Pepper's. Those are like the really rough, hard rock Beatles songs on here. If I could criticize a song on here, I'd criticize Good Morning, just because I don't feel the mix is right on either versions. I don't even think. Like if you play the Beatles Rock Band, the guitar that's kind of dun, 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 dun through the whole song, it's not really that listenable on the studio versions, but when you play it on Rock Band, it's turned up quite a bit so you could hear that. If the original sounded like that, I think it's a perfect song. You know, it's a really good song there, and I really like Sgt. Pepper Reprise. It's just, they're really hard Beatles there, really. If I could just make this album better, I would honestly want to put Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane. Those songs would have been masterpieces on this. I feel like Sgt. Strawberry Fields should have been the opener for this album. You know, like how John says, "Let me take you down," because I'm going to Strawberry Fields. He could have been, that could have made it better for a concept story. Putting it as the opener, like John meaning "Let me take you down." That could have meant, like, "Let me take you down to see Sgt. Pepper's." And then at the end of Strawberry Fields, it plays the opener of Sgt. Pepper, and then it's almost like a whole thing going on, you know. So anyway, this is perfect record here. You gotta play it, really. So yeah. Anyway, those were my top 12 albums. I hope you enjoyed this. It was just for fun because I'm really in a 67 mood, because that's basically the era where everything changed. Everything is more colorful, more psychedelic music, more music that had a more modern feel to it and more memorable. So you gotta love the era of 67. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.